bully boys blow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum.
残日夜相随，春风又。
We sleep and slide. We feel no pain.
Hi guys, in today's video I'll be sharing my experience with the Mola Mola Makua, which is the preamplifier from Mola Mola, and this one has the built-in Tambaqui DAC, as well as the Mola Mola Perca, which is their stereo amplifier, power amplifier. So this is a standard Mola Mola design. It comes with a silver finish on the top, and it's a solid piece machined out, and has a wavy feature on the top as well as the front face. So this Perca comes in the half size, whereas the Makua is a full size Mola Mola chassis. So the width is 435 millimeters on the width. The height is 110 millimeters for both, and the depth is about 340 millimeters. So the Makua weighs about 18 kgs, and the power amplifier, the Perca, weighs about 5 kgs plus. So this one has the built-in Tambaqui DAC. So first I'll talk about the price. So the price of the Makua preamplifier is retails for around 12,000 US dollars, and if you want to get the Tambaqui DAC option, it's about another 8,000 US dollars. If you want to get the phono stage option, that's about 3,000 US dollars. Whereas the Mola Mola Perca, it costs about 9,850 US dollars retail. Let me say first, these are Class D amplifiers, amplifier for the power amplifier stage. For the preamplifier, it is actually analog preamplifier. Okay, but this amplifier on the Makua, it is quite high tech. There's some features inside which are not typical, not available on many amplifiers. Okay, so first let me show you how it works. You can start up. So there's no on-off button on this. So let me show you. There are only 6 buttons. These are all preset buttons and the volume knob. And for the Perca, there's only one button, which is basically an on-off button. Okay, to power on the Makua, you can press any of the preset buttons here. So let's say you press here. Okay, you can hear it powering up. You blink, and then it is already activated to your preset number 6. So how do you select these presets? It's all controlled by the app. So something different from Mola Mola with compared to a lot of other amplifiers is you need to use the app to pre-program the inputs and configurations that you like, and then once you preset, you just use this. Is very, very user friendly, and the app is very powerful. I can show you more as we go along the video. Okay, so the volume knob, it has a very nice finish, and you can hear as you twist that there are relays actually switching. So it's also motorized, and you can control it from this remote as well. So this is the standard remote. Standard remote has the on-off volume up and down. You can see here, it goes up and down. And this is to toggle between the inputs. If you want to switch it off, you can also turn off from here. Okay. All right. So if you want to turn on the Perca, just press from here. It'll be turned on. Okay. So okay, I'll show you the back of these units to have explained to you what are the features and connections available on these units. Okay, so this is the back of the Mola Mola Makua, and this is the back of the Mola Mola Perca. So I'll start with the Makua first, from left to right. So from the left side, so this is the DAC module. So you can see the different inputs for the DAC module. We have the AES EBU input, the USB input, and the Ethernet input for you to use your network like a room. And there's an optical input here. Okay, over here there are 5 sets of XLR and RCA inputs, which are switchable, so you can switch between the inputs. And if you have phono input, you can also connect to here if you're using the built-in phono stage. So over here, there are two sets of XLR outputs. Do note there are no RCA outputs. So these are actually running simultaneously, two sets of XLR outputs. And here you have 4 trigger outputs. So the trigger outputs can be configured in the app, and it can be linked with different outputs. Here we have the RS232 input for your room automation system, and this is your power IAC connector inlet, and this is a multi-voltage connector. So let's move on to the Mola Mola Perca. So this is the IAC connection. Again, it's a multi-voltage. We have left and right XLR and RCA inputs. So there's a switch here. So this switch is for XLR. You push below, it is for the RCA input. So over here you can also see a high gain and low gain switch. So high gain is for 28 decibels of gain, and low is for 22 decibels of gain. So this is the trigger connection. So you can link this with the trigger connection on the Makua. So when you turn this on and you set the trigger, you can actually turn the Perca on automatically as well. So the speaker connections are Furutech. So these are very good quality connections from Furutech, which can be used with banana plugs or spades. Do note that if you use spades, right, it's quite narrow here. So because you have your IEC connection here, so it's quite narrow for the spades. You have to go this way, and the second one goes below. So it's much better if you use the banana plugs directly through here. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go through how the Mola Mola app looks like. So on the first screen, you get to choose which is the Mola Mola equipment you have. So I select the Makua. And then once you go in there, you can see the 6 input selections, the presets. So 1 to 6, and you can configure each of these inputs separately. Okay, first you go to the general setting, you can see the balance control, the name of the unit, the firmware updates. So if you go back to this, you can see 1 to 6, and you can configure each of these inputs separately. Each of these can be controlled. So here I can give you an example. Okay, so once you go in, you can rename the input. You can select which is the input. So there are 6 different inputs at the back, the RCA, XLR, as well as the DAC inputs that are available. So you can configure however you want. And you can see the selection for the inputs, either the switch, which is the one that's behind, or you can configure XLR or the RCA on the front as well. So you can also adjust the volume adjustment compensation for the different inputs here. And you can see here phono controls if you have the phono module as well as the trigger output. So over here on the main page, on the bottom part, you can adjust the mute and the volume control for the unit. You can see the mute button is on, and you can also toggle on and off on the top left side. There's the on off button, and you can even wake the unit up from standby mode from this app. Okay, so let me tell you about the Mola Mola Perca. So the Class D amplifier built-in, it is built upon the N-core technology that the parent company of Mola Mola called Hypex have developed, and Mola Mola has developed that further into this technology called TRAJECTUM. So the input stage of the amplification is Class A. It is 150 watts per channel into 8 ohms and 300 watts into 4 ohms. So the signal to noise ratio for this is 128 decibels, and the bandwidth is up to 100 kilohertz, which is super high. There is a super low output impedance of 2 milliohms, and therefore the damping factor of this amplifier is super high, which is more than 4,000. So that is really amazing. So as I've shown you from the back, the connectors are high quality binding posts, and there are 2 gain switches at the back. So you can see, depends on your requirement, depends on your amplifier and your speakers as well. So You can choose between the low gain, which is 22 decibels, and 28 decibels for a high gain. For my usage and testing, I actually quite like the 22 decibel gain setting better. But if you prefer more dynamic, louder, and your speakers are maybe not as efficient, you might prefer to choose the 28 decibels. Anyway, it's just a simple toggle on the back. Okay, so let me talk to you about the sound by first saying what it is not. Okay, what it doesn't sound like is your typical Class D amp. So I've had experience owning a few different Class D amps, few different types of Class D amps, and heard quite a number of Class D amps. I found them, yes, it is very clean, very detailed, but I found them very harsh and very difficult to listen to them in a long time. And I don't find those amplifiers to be very musical or natural at all. But these are really different. So I would say, first thing, it is very musical, natural, and you don't find it harsh at all. I could listen to this for hours, and I did listen for hours without finding them to be fatiguing at all. So whatever previous misconceptions about Class D, my God, this is really, really good, and it's totally different from what I had before. Secondly, this amplifier, it is very dynamic, and it's very powerful. Although it's rated at 150 watts, it feels much more powerful. I think it is because the level of low level retrieval of sounds, it's still very clear. You can hear the small details, while at the same time, when the transients come in, when the bass comes in, it comes in super fast. You can feel that the amp has a full control of the speaker drivers when it comes in, and then it goes back super fast. It's instantaneous. Yeah, you don't feel that there's a lag, or actually other layers of the music are being affected when it's a lot of things coming into the speaker at the same time. So that is something usually only really powerful amplifiers or very Class A amplifiers able to do. You know, those really powerful Class A amplifiers. This is something, it's quite surprising to me based on my experience, and I'm really impressed. I especially like when you have very complex musical passages with bass. You have different levels of layers of instruments coming in at different locations, and they are able to be played clearly. You can distinctively hear the different layers clearly, all at the same time, you know. And when it comes to soundstage, wow, the separation is very distinct. It is very, you're able to pinpoint very clearly where each instrument is being placed on the soundstage. So it is very precise, I would say, in this placement of the soundstage, and it gives a very wide soundstage. So overall, I really like this system. Also, kudos to the preamplifier as well. It is a very transparent sound. Also comes from the Tambaqui, which gives a very natural sound. So overall, I give a very high rating for the excellent sound quality, musicality, and the dynamics were top notch. Second good thing I really like about this system is the app, which can use to program and control the preamplifier and configure it in the way that you want to. The design and the compact form factor, it is to me a plus point. It looks very nice. It's not your typical black boxes. And in fact, my wife thinks this is much nicer than the typical black boxes that I bring back to review. So the combination of the Makua, the Tambaqui DAC, and the Perca, it is just a perfect match, and the sound is just amazing. In terms of the cons, so this design compared to some may not like this kind of design. They prefer more a bigger design for the money that they are paying. Some people prefer more muscular design, bigger heat sinks, or more bling. So this is a very simple. Sometimes some people might find it's a bit too simple, but I personally like it. So it's a very personal thing. So the preamp volume control, I find sometimes when I'm using the remote, so when I try to press the volume up, because it's linked to the motorized volume control, sometimes it may overshoot, and then it might go a bit louder than you actually want to. So after a while, you get used to it, but initially I tend to overshoot it a little bit, but just a very small comment here. Next is on the transparent sound. So it does not hide any flaws in your recording. So if you have a poor recording, it just shows immediately. There's nothing you can do about it. It doesn't try to make the sound more sweet. It doesn't add any warmth to it. It's just the way it is. Okay, so if you're looking for those amps that are giving you more sweetness, more warmth, if you like those, I would say more romantic sounding amps, this is maybe not what you like. But if you want it to be super transparent to show how the recording is, this is something that I'll recommend. So last thing is in terms of the price. I know some DIY enthusiasts will say that, oh, okay, I can build similar DIY set with some of their modules and get close to the performance and get a better bang for the buck. So if DIY is your thing, of course, you save a lot of casework. You won't get the same module, of course. You won't get the same performance, but I guess maybe if you're into DIY, if you want to save on that, this is, if you're comparing to this, I think it's not really a fair comparison. But if DIY is your thing and you feel that you want to do something like that, then you might find this is pricey. But if you're just comparing with other amplifiers in the market, this, I would say, is very good value for money. Okay, so that's my review of the Mola Mola Makua as well as the Perca. So only sad thing is I got to return them as I've loaned them. So thanks to Sui from X Audio in Singapore for loaning me the unit. I really enjoyed this amplifier. It really made my KEF speakers sing, and I'm gonna miss them. So okay, so thanks for watching, and see you for the next one.